Now that we've talked about how to get to the White Library resources and how to log in, we need to talk about how you might begin thinking about research. If this is your first time back to school in a while and you're looking for a way to organize your thoughts for the research process, we hope that this will be of help to you. If you decide after using it that there's a way that works better for you, or if you've already developed your own methods, please do feel free to use those. We do just want to provide some guidance though for those of you who may have a few questions, and hopefully this will help you get started on your path to research and making things a bit less stressful and more organized and just help it to flow better. One of the things that we've done is we've created a worksheet that you can use to start to think about your topic and the words that you might use once you get to the databases and have those blanks staring at you in the face. You can get to this particular worksheet that's pictured on the right by going to our website, and then if you go under Help and then you go to the screen that contains our handouts, you'll be able to go under Handouts and look for the Research Strategy worksheet. What you're seeing here is a blank at the top that is asking you to put in what your research topic is. And ultimately what you're trying to do is to answer a question with your research paper. And you can put that question down in the form of a question if you'd like, or as a statement. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to say, this is what I want to prove to my readers. Then the idea is you take that idea and you think about the main components that comprise that particular research topic. Because when you go to the databases, you won't be using large words and phrases. You'll want to use concepts and you'll want to break those down into individual words. And so the idea is to put a separate concept in each one of the boxes that's shown here. Then you take those concepts and you copy them down to each of the first lines that you see below that say Aspect 1, Aspect 2, and Aspect 3. Now understand that depending on your research topic, you may just have 2 aspects. Maybe you'll have more than 3. Whatever your situation is, feel free to adapt this idea for whatever works best for you. We just want to make sure that you have a few blanks to get you started. And don't feel like you have to fill up every one of those keyword blanks. The idea here is if you were to try to go into the database and the initial terms that you thought of to search for your topics weren't in the database the way that you phrased it, what you're trying to do is brainstorm before you even go to the database what other words may be present that I could substitute for what I initially thought I would search by. So you're looking for items that either represent the same thing or a similar concept or even synonyms of the same word. So this will give you an opportunity to think through the process before you ever get out there into the databases. Here's an example. Let's say we wanted to research on the impact of human trafficking on society. We might look at that and we might say, okay, so human trafficking is one major aspect, and maybe the other major aspect is societal impact. So we copied those words down to aspects 1 and 2 below. And what we're seeing here is the result of someone sitting and brainstorming and thinking, okay, if I didn't find the word or the phrase human trafficking in the database, what else might I try that would give me something similar? And the person who designed this said, okay, well maybe modern slavery would be an alternative. Maybe even the new abolitionist movement, or even not for sale. So what you can do is you can substitute those different terms in and combine them with different terms for aspect number 2. For aspect number 2, because society is such a big, broad concept, the idea here, instead of trying to find other words that mean the same thing as society, what was done here is different words that represent different aspects of society were put down. So you can see where terms that you might write down could be synonyms, or they could be representatives of smaller pieces of a bigger concept. When we start to think about research strategy, we want to think about what angle we want to come at the subject from. We want to think from broad to narrow. How am I going to design my research so that I can best describe this topic to someone else? What you see here on the screen, think of as a funnel. If you want to think of what would be the broadest item that would be caught in the top of the funnel, that would happen to be the subject encyclopedia. Subject encyclopedias build a broad foundation for a topic. Now, we realize that you may not use every one of these kinds of articles in every paper that you are designing, but we want to show you from broad to narrow what how specific each kind of reference resource is. So again, subject encyclopedias are going to be the broadest, with them providing a broad overview of a topic. Books then, also a broad resource, are more narrow than subject encyclopedias. They're able to focus in on the topic a bit more than the subject encyclopedias, but they're not as narrow as periodical articles. If you think about articles you find in journals, you usually find that those are representative of specific cases, maybe special experiments, something that's more specific about your topic. And then further on down this list, when you're doing research and pulling statistics or media or other websites to kind of fill in those different pieces to help support your argument, you can see how, going from the top to the bottom of this funnel, you're looking at representations of varying weights of the content that will be inside of these items. So as you start to think about the kinds of items that you want to research, you might think about the kind of content these items have and think about what you need to prove in your paper. And that might help you to better construct what kinds of resources you want to do your research in. So some things that we do suggest to you when you're starting to get ready to do your research is, if it's possible, try to begin planning your research early. I know that that's not always possible with your classes, especially when some of them are so short. But if you do have some time to start thinking about it, it'll give you a chance to think with a clearer mind that isn't rushed for time because you know that you're, coming right up against a deadline. Another thing to keep in mind is that you're going to have to be flexible with your search terms because, as you've probably encountered in other research projects in the past, the first sets of words and phrases that you think of may not be exactly what you find in the databases. Different databases use different language. Even though they try to standardize some of those things, it's not 100% across the board. And as you've probably encountered, sometimes the things that you put into those blanks don't always give you a result. So be flexible, be willing to switch up the terms, and that's part of why we suggest making that list we talked about just a few slides ago. Feel free to, when you're doing that, in a little bit here, we'll take a look at what the index of an item looks like, and things that you find either within the articles or within the record of an item or the index of an item. You may find more subjects or keywords that will help you to better refine the kind of search you want to do. Feel free to jot those down on your paper. Don't feel like you're finished just because you brainstormed at the beginning. You can continue to add to that for as much or as little as you'd like, and it will help you to continue to hone and refine that, and you won't be basically recreating the wheel every time you come back to do research after having to take a break. If it's possible, I know some people may think that this sounds silly, but do try to think of research as an adventure instead of, as a chore, because then it makes the process a little bit less intimidating if you're coming at it as though it's something fun instead of something that's so difficult and feels so overwhelming. But at any time, please, if you're ever stuck on your research, do call us or email us, whichever is most convenient for you, and we will be more than happy to assist you. Now I'm going to show you a video, and this has been produced by a librarian named Ruth Gaba from Concordia University, Wisconsin. I think she has a fun, playful way of introducing some basics on how to begin searching that will really help to clarify the process. Let's take a look at what Ruth has to say about research.